Hi, welcome again to Kim's Art Show. We're at episode 6. Feels kind of surreal. We're continuing on gouache, and this, right, is my gouache set. And these are jelly cups, and I love them. You can get them on Amazon or other art supply stores. Pretty inexpensive, but their quality is so-so. So when I've used up colors, I go to good art supply stores and I buy better brands and I fill the cups up with them. Periodically, I use my spray bottle and I reconstitute them. You can go up to like 3 weeks with them tightly closed in their case and then open them up. They might need a little bit more water and some stirring, but they stay pretty well. Last week, I worked on some paintings and we were talking about value, which is the lightness or darkness of a color. And I brought paintings up to a certain level and I said at home, without the stress of trying to do it in front of the cameras, I would finish them. And so I wanted to start with showing that this was the one on the craft paper, which is kind of a nice neutral back. And then this is the one on black. And because I was doing 2 paintings, I changed this one and I made it a different season. So then we can have a nice little comparison. And of course, during the week, as these were in my studio, I was judging them and I was so concerned. Are they good enough? How do I compare? And then I was like, chill, right? My job is to paint. Everyone's going to judge. And that's not my job. My job is to paint and put it out there. And I want to share it with you. Years ago, I had an art supply store and a little gallery and I taught lessons. And I remember I signed the lease, so all systems go. And I got really stressed. Like, who am I to think I'm good enough to put my work in a window like that? But what happened was really magical. And it was, I put my painting in the window and then people would walk by and they would see my painting. And if they liked it, sometimes they would come in. And then I would develop this great relationship with these people who I never would have met. And chances were that if they liked the painting, then when they found out like I did it, they might also like me. What was funny is sometimes people would come in and be like, can you tell me about the painting in the window? And I would be kind of distant from it. And I'd be like, oh yes, that's a marsh, of course, a marsh. And then they'd be like, well, who did it? And when I told them I did, it was like this dawning, this happiness. I've met really great people through my art, and I think that's what brought me to have this show, right? Kim's Art Show. So we'll see how this continues to go. Last week was wonderful because I didn't want to do a painting from start to finish. I did a painting like kind of halfway. And so this painting will be about, this session will be about trying to bring it to completion. And we'll see how that goes. So I usually, as a landscape painter, work from photo references, right? And so I had done a small version of this painting and of this reference, and it's from the not anymore used airport in my town, now beautiful conservation. And I thought, let's put away the reference and just work from my small painting and see how much that can free me up. And so here we are. With painting, you never know. Like, I kind of wish I were a chef doing a cooking show because you have more of an idea of follow the recipe, end up here. With painting, you know, we have like the best practices in mind, but we never know what's going to happen here. And so here we are in front of cameras to see where we end up. So edges, right, are where color meets another color. And nature doesn't have hard edges, but some of these are a mess. So we're going to play with those. And we're going to give a little bit more definition. And that means going to smaller brushes. I might also want to make some darker darks. And so I'm going to play with that. I like to put some beads of water on my little palette paper, so I don't like get my brush entirely wet and make the paints too wet, because gouache is like this fine line of too wet or too dry, just right, like Goldilocks. So I'm starting with a blue, and I am going to warm that up with a red, because warm colors come forward. And so we're such creatures of habit. Often I have my reference like tacked to my my board, and so I was like by habit checking out my board, but it's over here, and I'm trying to respond more to the painting than to what I painted before, right? Like this painting, let's respond to that. So this is a crazy week for me because I dropped my firstborn off for college. And she's not far away, but gosh, it's a huge shift in my house. And so right after dropping her off, there was an art supply store around the block. So I said to my husband and my other daughter, who were at dinner, like, you know, I'm gonna go get some art supplies because that'll make me feel better. And so I'm using some of those today. And it's kind of a nice little thing to be like, oh, those are special art supplies. Art supplies can make many artists just feel better. Okay. So I'm not sure the cameras can pick up a lot of the difference in the colors here. But one thing that happens when you paint is you don't want your shadows to be too dark. There is the Cape Cod School of Art, which was founded in like P-Town, and it's still a bunch of people painting in that way today, really came through with demand more of your shadows. They're not just dark. What are the cool colors there? And so if you look at a landscape, you might kind of be surprised at the colors that you can see there. Demand more of your shadows. It's so easy to say, not that easy to do. And so I'm making these a little bit more blue over here. And I'm kind of using the side of the brush, and I love to make up words when I teach painting, and one of my favorites is clumpular, right? So we have the singular tree and the clumpular, right? Not a word, but you get the sense of we want to tie shapes together, and so that's kind of what I'm playing with. And by making these as dark as this, I kind of pull them all to the same place in the picture plane. I'm not sure I want that, so I'm going to play with that a little bit more, and I'm going to warm it up as I make it darker, and that'll also pull it forward. So some of these edges are a little bit too crisp, and that's where when I paint the sky, I can make that different. And remember, when you mix your color on the palette, it makes sense, right, to mix them near to one another, because then you know, like, see, that's considerably warmer or cooler, darker. And so I love mixing them near. Sometimes when I teach, I'll see like little puddles of color all over the palette. And when you can see them next to each other, that proximity lets you know if you're going to have success here. All right, let's put some darks over there. Oh, see, now these kinds of marks, they really get me all jazzed up, but I have to be careful with them. Those kinds of marks are closer to the end, but every once in a while I give myself a little bit of a gift, and I'm like, it's all right, you can do that. Okay, so let's start on the top. I'm going to mix a color for the sky in the clouds. And that's a nice, like, nature is never like pure out of the tube. of colors. And so it's okay if it's like messy. Now, this is dry, and the mark that I make right there, that's wet. So that's going to dry considerably lighter. But a way to make sure that my color is right is to paint a lot so that I know what level it'll dry at, or to repaint the entire shape. So that's why I think alla prima is when you can paint a piece from start to finish. And gouache benefits from an alla prima situation. But, don't give yourself that kind of pressure to finish a painting every time you start. Instead, just keep painting and explore and experiment and see where you end up. With practice, you get better, right? We've always said practice makes perfect. Pfft, you can't be perfect, but you can be better. And God knows, I paint a lot. I justify all the art supplies I have with all that painting, all that spending. All right, so compositionally, these clouds move our eye along, and I am in essence kind of repainting much of it. And I'm also getting rid of some of that glorious lighter part of the sky, but don't worry, because it's opaque, I can go back over it and reclaim some of that light. And that is really the glory of gouache. Let's see. So edges, right, where color meets color or value meets value, the lightness or darkness, right, value scale here. Edges are tricky, and in nature they're always soft and kind of blotchy and raggy. Clouds kind of you can tell if a cloud looks like it was cut out and stuck somewhere, that's not gonna feel very natural. So, all right, it's kind of a nice place to be. I want to paint the lights, but I can't do it until that dries. Otherwise, they all kind of mush together, and we don't want that. Much like if you're painting a wall in your house and you don't wait in between coats, it's almost like you're not getting the benefit of the next coat. Okay, so I played with the darks, I played with the trees, and now I think I'm going to play with some of the grasses while I let those dry. And from this angle, I can really see what's still wet because it's shiny. Remember, gouache is a nice matte finish, and so it really does look velvety when it's dry, not shiny like when it's wet. All right, what color? I'm gonna make it kind of warm. But definitely not that warm. So I took a really wonderful color theory class, and my teacher said, if you put too many colors in, you end up with something that is very muddled and difficult. I don't find that. In my experience, I keep adding colors till I get there. I'm very forgiving, and painting is too. Now, there are always best practices, and you do want to try to, nail the color at the beginning. But if you don't, it's okay. And with color mixing, there are so many ways to arrive at your end result. Your formula might be different than another time that you painted and got the same color. Color theory is so much fun, but it really is a lifelong study. And maybe in a future episode we can talk about color more. All right, so marks in the foreground. are going to be more defined. You might see individual blades of grass, and then in the back, like, you're not seeing those. But if I paint in the back, like those kinds of vertical marks, sometimes it can make the picture plane of the front be in the back. And you don't want that. You're trying to create that illusion of depth. There's nothing worse than losing a word when you are being recorded. I love words, so it's kind of like humbling to lose a word. I was really blessed in my art education to study in Brittany, France. And I had some French, but it was pretty rudimentary. And when I was there, I was taking French. That's a benefit. But I'll tell you, it was so hard when I would talk to my host mother and she would be like, "Where did you go today?" And I'd want to say, "I went to the field and it was so wonderful." And instead I remember looking up what I had said, and I had said something like, "I went to the cereal and it was not bad." Do you know what I mean? Like, no, I went to the field and it was glorious or wonderful. So, in the foreground, okay? So some of these colors are very similar to the back. So I'm experimenting with what color can I make some of the light hitting the grasses in the front that really pulls it forward, but also design-wise is pretty. For instance, like, see this piece? There are little dots of this kind of insane coral that are just suggested enough, and they're teeny, but what they'll do is pull your eye there. And from a distance you might not see it, but when you get up close, those are the little secret connections from viewer to artist. And so that's what I'm trying to determine. What color might that be? Often they are crazy bright color or pretty pure color, like out of a tube. Yeah. The problem here, though, is I think it needs to be more toward yellowed. So let's see. And like I've said in the past, some people, when they paint, they know exactly, they pre-mix all their colors. But my experience in painting is very much discovery as I paint and respond. All right, I kind of like that. Oh, some of these are great. And see, wiggle your brush around, drag it, that's more how nature might be. Okay, so that contrast here to here isn't great. It's almost too much, the light wouldn't be there if this is so dark and I'm suggesting shadow. So I'm gonna get rid of that. And now I'm going to start to figure out, in shadow, what are these colors that draw us in, give us those little unexpected connections. Right, and again, in theory, I'm mixing those colors on my palette near my other colors. This is good, but it's not quite what I'm looking for. It's giving me some buildup, and I like it. Obviously, because I'm kind of dotting it around. And you'll see, when I think something's too harsh or sharp, I blot it with my finger. I was driving home last time, and I was like, oh look, I still have my paint on my hand. Okay. So what might make this really pretty? Let's try some sort of, remember I'm saying you demand more of your shadows. So what is that going to be? Oh, see, that's kind of pretty. So I'm playing with the purples, but they can't be too intense. And they can't match this too much. It's a fine balance. And it's funny to consider, like, all these colors are, you know, from the primaries. Right, so they're all having a nice continuity. All right, so I've done a nice job, I'd say, about my own painting, right, of giving us some detail here. Now I'm going to play with that old runway. One of my friends said, and Kim, anytime I see a path in nature, I'm like, oh, that's a Kim painting, you know. So I'm like, great, so paths and marshes. I guess it could be worse, right? So what color do I want this to be? So I think I want it less purple. So I am going to start with blue. And right now that is a garish blue that I chose, so I need to dull it down. We haven't really talked about that, but to dull down color, you add the complementary color, which is the opposite color. I've ended up with a color I won't even show you, it's so wrong. But we can play. So, oh, that's kind of pretty. You can really see though, like it almost looks green compared to the purple. That's not wrong. It's just, is it too green? The opposite of green is red, and so I'm gonna add a red. Red though as a color is like, I scream I'm red, and the instant you put a tiny bit in, it really takes over. So see, it's like I've totally neutralized that green, but almost too much. Painting is very much a color mixing dance, back and forth. And so I'm continuing my mixing. Oh look, I've pretty much matched the color it was originally that I don't want. So I just put in some more. For those who are artists and watching, I hope there are some of you, right? It is cerulean. And again, it's like I went back to the start. So see this dance we're doing? Oh, I don't mind this. So this landscape, right, I'm going to pull that through the grass. The runway hasn't been used in a long time, and the grasses are like really encroaching. I want this much lighter, so I'm going to I added a color called Naples Yellow. Oh, I like that. Right? And wet into wet like that, I'm scumbling the brush. So in essence, I am mixing the color right on the canvas or the paper. This needs to be lighter still. I think I'm going to add white this time. And, oh, but I like it. So I want to give the suggestion that there are some shadows or dark spots. So let's see what that's going to look like. Right, water-based medium, you can reconstitute just with water. And so because my whole painting experience is on the palette, I can just mix up the colors that I have. Oh, I like that. Right, so. And again, I always have such big ideas. I'm going to do this, 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 and this, and then, you know, it's like I know my time is winding down. It's kind of crazy. But I do like it. So you can see the improvements to it. So my shadow came too much into this tree, and I want some of these darks to come closer to this beautiful cedar that's kind of the star of the show. I usually call paintings like this like the Sentinels. I'll tell you though, when I first started painting, I was like, ooh, titling is so much fun. And now I'm just like, oh my God, titling is really hard. So I love where it is. It's difficult to be critical, discerning on the camera because I'm so concerned with being entertaining at the same time. So this might be another one that I'm not sure I'll finish here, but at home, once it's dry, I'm gonna beef this up, make it have a little bit more oomph. I'll try to see if before we finish I can nail that color. And when we talk about color, we want to say something like, I like this peachy. So it's a yellow, it's light, it's warm, and it's kind of like in this range of value. Let's see if I can get it. I think I want it warmer. So on my palette, I have little cheaty colors. I have like a pink. God, in art school, you'd be so chided for having pink on your palette. What, you can't mix it? Well, maybe I don't want to mix it. There's like little bits of other color on my brush, and that's all right. Remember I was saying too, we're gonna get like yucky edges. We want that. When it's too crisp, it doesn't look believable. That's a nice color. I kind of feel like it needs to be more yellow. Oh, I love it. Okay, this is a little funny. Oh, nice drama. I'm gonna add a big hunk of white, see what it looks like in the back. Oh, I just broke my brush, what a riot. I'm not doing that hold your brush gently. Right, but back to it's an opaque medium. You have a lot of latitude here. Oh, I love it. And I did it with the same broken handled brush from start to finish. You can do so much with a big brush. You don't need the little liners. However, they are super fun. And so with what's still on my canvas, on my palette, I'm gonna add some of those little marks because I love making them. And those are those little marks toward the end that feel like I'm an artist. So it's still gonna have a little bit of work at home, but it was really fun to be able to show some of these marks in the next stage of painting here. So thanks for watching.